Scorpio, have you noticed that someone has been acting differently around you? Maybe they've become unusually quiet. Maybe they're suddenly asking strange questions, ones that feel a little too specific, a little too careful. Or perhaps you felt an unexplainable tension in the room whenever they're near, something you can't quite name but can absolutely feel. Many people would ignore these moments. They'd brush them off as coincidence, as stress, as nothing. But according to many spiritual traditions, silence often comes before hidden truths are revealed. And today, July 22nd, may be one of those rare moments when someone's true intentions become impossible to hide. The question is, will you recognize it before it's too late? Because here's the thing about you, Scorpio, you already sense it. You've sensed it for days now, maybe even weeks. That small shift, that subtle change in someone's tone, the way they used to look at you directly and now they glance away half a second too soon. You haven't said anything, not yet, and that's exactly why what happens next matters so much. Stay with me because what unfolds in the next few minutes could change the way you see this entire situation. Let's begin. There's an old idea, one that spiritual teachers across many cultures have shared in different forms, that truth doesn't need to be chased. It reveals itself in its own time to those patient enough to wait for it. You, Scorpio, know something about patience. Even when people don't see it in you, even when the world assumes you're intense and quick to act, there's a part of you that has always understood the value of waiting, of watching, of letting a situation unfold before you make your move. That instinct is about to serve you well. Because right now in your life, someone is carrying something they haven't told you. It might be a feeling, it might be a decision, it might be a truth about how they really see you or what they really want from you. And many spiritual traditions suggest that when someone withholds something important, their energy shifts in ways they can't fully control. Their words become shorter, their eyes wander, their laughter arrives a little late, like it's being performed rather than felt. You may have already noticed this. If you have, trust that observation. Not with suspicion, not with fear, just with quiet awareness. Because the version of you who reacts too quickly, who demands answers before they're ready to be given, often ends up with less truth, not more. But the version of you who stays calm, who watches without pressing, who lets silence do the work it was always meant to do, that version of you tends to see everything, eventually. Let's talk about why silence carries so much power, especially for someone like you. Silence is uncomfortable for most people. It presses on them. It makes them fill the space with words they didn't plan to say, confessions they didn't mean to offer, explanations that reveal more than they intended. You've probably experienced this yourself. On the other side, someone asks you a simple question, and instead of staying quiet, you find yourself explaining, justifying, adding details nobody asked for. That's what discomfort does. It loosens the grip people have on their own secrets. So when you choose silence, Scorpio, you're not avoiding the truth. You're creating the exact conditions where truth becomes almost impossible to hide. This is not manipulation. This is discernment. There's a difference, and it matters. Manipulation tries to force someone into revealing something before they're ready, using pressure, guilt, or fear. Discernment simply waits, watches, and trusts that time reveals what conversation sometimes conceals. Some spiritual traditions call this holding space. Others call it sacred patience. Whatever name you give it, the practice is the same. You stop chasing the truth and you let the truth come to you. And on a day like July 22nd, when planetary energy is said by many astrologers to heighten emotional undercurrents and encourage confrontation with what's been avoided, that truth may arrive faster than you expect. Now, here's something worth sitting with for a moment. You may have already asked yourself quietly in the middle of the night when your mind wouldn't settle. Am I imagining this? Am I overthinking? You are not. Your intuition, Scorpio, is one of the most misunderstood gifts you carry. People often mistake it for suspicion or even paranoia. But intuition isn't about assuming the worst. It's about noticing what's real before your conscious mind has fully processed it. Think of it like this. Long before you can explain why a room feels tense, your body already knows. Long before someone tells you a lie, some part of you has already registered the pause, the shift in breathing, the flicker of hesitation. This isn't mystical exaggeration. Many spiritual teachings frame intuition as a kind of inner wisdom, an accumulated sense built from every conversation, every relationship, every moment of betrayal or honesty you've ever lived through. Your intuition is not guessing, it's remembering faster than words can keep up. So when you feel that someone around you is holding something back, you're likely picking up on real signals, even if you can't name them yet. The unsettling part isn't that you're wrong. The unsettling part is that you're probably right. Think about the last time you dismissed a feeling like this, only to discover later that your instincts had been accurate all along. Most people can recall at least one moment like that. A warning they brushed aside, a hesitation they talked themselves out of, only to look back and realize their first sense of things was the clearest one. This is why so many spiritual traditions place such importance on stillness. Not stillness as inactivity, but stillness as a way of listening more closely to what's already being communicated beneath the surface of ordinary conversation. You don't need more information right now. You need less noise, less overthinking, less second guessing what you already know in your bones. Because the truth rarely arrives loudly. It arrives in small signals, easy to miss if you're distracted, but impossible to ignore once you slow down enough to notice them. A hesitation before answering a simple question, a subject changed a little too quickly, a story that shifts slightly each time it's told. None of these things prove anything on their own, but together they form a pattern. And patterns, more than any single moment, tend to reveal what words alone try to conceal. Let's go deeper into what might actually be happening somewhere in your life right now, whether it's someone close to you, someone in your family, someone you work with, or someone you've let further into your heart than you originally planned. There is a person whose behavior has changed. Maybe they've pulled back emotionally. Maybe they've started replying later than usual. Maybe their tone on the phone feels different, careful, like they're choosing every word before it leaves their mouth. You've noticed. Of course you have. You always do. And you've probably told yourself not to make a big deal out of it. You've probably tried to convince yourself it's nothing, that you're being too sensitive, too intense, too much, like people have told you before. But Scorpio, listen closely. You are not too much. You are simply someone who feels the truth before it's spoken. And that has never been a flaw. It has always been a form of protection, both for yourself and for the people who deserve your trust. The discomfort you're sensing right now is not your imagination overreacting. It's your inner wisdom quietly preparing you for something that's about to surface. Here's what surprises most people once they finally understand this pattern. The greatest danger isn't what another person says. It's what they accidentally reveal when they believe you've stopped paying attention. Read that again because it changes everything about how you should move forward from here. When someone believes they're being watched closely, they perform. They choose their words carefully, they manage their expressions. They give you the version of themselves they want you to see. But the moment they believe your guard is down, the moment they assume you're distracted, uninterested, or emotionally checked out, that's when their real intentions slip through the cracks. A careless comment, an unguarded reaction, a moment where their mask drops just long enough for you to catch a glimpse of what's underneath. This is why reacting too quickly can actually work against you. If you confront someone the instant you feel suspicious, you give them the chance to tighten their mask again, to prepare a better explanation, to control the narrative before you've even gathered the full picture. But if you stay calm, if you remain present without appearing overly alert, you create the exact environment where truth reveals itself. Naturally, without force, without confrontation, without giving anyone the chance to rehearse their story. This isn't about becoming cold or distant, it's about protecting your own clarity long enough to see what's real. Now, let's talk about something many people overlook. Not everyone who is hiding something bad. This is important, Scorpio, because your mind, when left unchecked, can spiral toward worst case scenarios. It's one of the ways you protect yourself, by preparing for pain before it arrives, so it never catches you off guard. But truth isn't always something to fear. Sometimes the thing someone is hiding is affection they're afraid to admit. Sometimes it's a decision they're still working up the courage to share, like a job change, a move, a confession of love, or even a long overdue apology. Many spiritual traditions suggest that hidden things carry weight, not because they're inherently dark, but because unspoken truths always create tension, whether they're painful or beautiful. So before you assume the worst, consider this. What if the silence you're sensing isn't a warning? What if it's simply the space before something meaningful is finally said out loud? You won't know until it unfolds. And that uncertainty, uncomfortable as it is part of what makes this moment so significant. Let's shift for a moment into the emotional core of what you're really navigating here. Beneath all of this, Scorpio, is a much deeper question. Not what are they hiding, but can I trust myself enough to handle the truth, whatever it turns out to be? This is the real test, because it's easy to say you want honesty. Most people say that, but true emotional strength isn't just about wanting truth, it's about being able to receive it without losing yourself in the process. You've done hard things before, you've survived conversations that shattered your sense of safety. You've rebuilt trust after betrayal. You've walked through emotional storms that would have broken people who didn't carry your resilience. So whatever this moment brings, whatever truth is preparing to surface around you, you are not walking into it unprepared. You are walking into it as someone who has already proven again and again that you can hold difficult truths without collapsing under their weight. That's not a small thing. That's the foundation of real emotional power. Let's talk about boundaries for a moment, because this matters more than people realize. Discernment doesn't mean staying silent forever. It doesn't mean allowing someone to string you along while you quietly observe from a distance, waiting endlessly for clarity that may never come. There's a difference between patient observation and self-abandonment. If someone's behavior has changed and you've given them space, given them time, given them the benefit of the doubt, and still nothing has shifted, you are allowed to ask for honesty directly. You are allowed to say calmly and without apology, I've noticed something feels different. I'd like to understand what's going on. That's not weakness. That's not desperation. That's healthy boundary setting rooted in self-respect rather than fear. Many spiritual teachings emphasize that true peace isn't about tolerating uncertainty indefinitely. It's about knowing when to wait and knowing when waiting has become a way of avoiding your own needs. You deserve clarity, you deserve honesty, and wanting those things doesn't make you difficult. It makes you someone who values real connection over comfortable illusion. There's something else worth naming here, something people rarely say out loud. Part of what makes this waiting period so hard isn't just the uncertainty about the other person. It's the old wound it touches inside you. Maybe you've been here before. Maybe there was a time when someone kept something from you, and by the time the truth surfaced, the damage had already been done. Maybe that experience taught you to watch closely, to prepare for disappointment, to brace yourself before anyone even has the chance to let you down. If that's true for you, Scorpio, it's worth acknowledging gently without judgment. That instinct to brace yourself made sense once. It may have even protected you, but it's also worth asking whether that same instinct is still serving you now, or whether it's coloring this current situation with fears that belong to your past, not necessarily your present. Not every silence is a betrayal waiting to happen. Not every hesitation is a lie in disguise. Sometimes people go quiet because they're scared, not because they're deceptive. Sometimes they pull back because they're processing something big, not because they're hiding something small. This doesn't mean you should ignore your intuition. It means you should let your intuition speak without your old wounds shouting over it. There's a difference between the calm, steady knowing that comes from real perception and the anxious, spiraling fear that comes from old pain resurfacing. Learning to tell them apart is one of the most valuable skills you can develop, not just in this moment, but in every relationship going forward. Give yourself grace here. You're not just watching someone else reveal their truth. You're also learning to trust your own voice again, one calm observation at a time. Let's talk about personal growth for a moment, because this entire experience, uncomfortable as it feels, is quietly shaping you into someone stronger. Every time you choose patience over panic, you build a kind of emotional muscle most people never develop. Every time you resist the urge to demand answers before someone is ready to give them, you practice a form of self-control that will serve you in every area of your life, not just this one relationship or situation. This is the part few people talk about when they discuss spiritual growth. It isn't always peaceful, it isn't always comfortable. Sometimes growth looks like sitting with uncertainty longer than you'd like, feeling the discomfort fully and choosing not to numb it, rush it, or force it into resolution before it's ready. Many spiritual teachings suggest that this kind of discomfort, when met with awareness rather than avoidance, becomes the very thing that transforms you. Not the resolution itself, but the way you carried yourself while waiting for it. So even if you don't get clarity today, even if July 22nd passes without the dramatic revelation you might be hoping for, know that you are still growing through this. Every day you choose grounded awareness over anxious reaction is a day you become a little more unshakable, a little more rooted in your own sense of self. That growth doesn't disappear just because the timeline looks different than you expected. It stays with you quietly, becoming part of who you are. Now let's return to the date that brought you here, July 22nd. Some astrologers believe that shifts in planetary energy during this period create heightened emotional sensitivity, especially for water signs like yourself. Whether or not you place your faith in the stars, you may notice that the emotional intensity around you feels different today. sharper, closer to the surface. This doesn't mean something dramatic is guaranteed to happen. Spiritual guidance isn't about certainty, it's about awareness, about paying closer attention to signs you might otherwise overlook. So, if today feels heavier than usual, if conversations feel more loaded, if someone seems to be circling around something they haven't said yet, trust that awareness. Don't force the moment, don't chase the confession. Simply stay present, stay grounded, let the day unfold at its own pace. Because, according to many spiritual traditions, timing matters just as much as truth itself. Some things aren't meant to be forced into the open. They're meant to arrive when the person carrying them is finally ready to set them down. Let's talk about something deeply human for a moment. Waiting for truth is exhausting. Even for someone as resilient as you, Scorpio, the uncertainty of not knowing can wear on your peace of mind. It can creep into your sleep, your focus, your sense of safety in relationships you once trusted completely. If you felt tired lately, emotionally drained in a way that's hard to explain to people around you, understand that this fatigue makes sense. You've been carrying awareness that others haven't acknowledged yet. That's heavy work even when it's invisible to everyone else. Give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to step back from overanalyzing every glance, every pause, every unanswered message. You don't have to solve this today. You don't have to have all the answers by tonight. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply breathe. Ground yourself in the present moment and trust that clarity will come when it's meant to. Protecting your peace isn't the same as ignoring the truth. It's making sure you're emotionally strong enough to face that truth clearly, without panic clouding your judgment. Here's something worth remembering as you move through the coming days. You've likely spent a lot of energy trying to figure someone else out, their motives, their silence, their sudden distance. But there's a quieter question hiding beneath all of that noise, one that deserves just as much of your attention. What does this moment reveal about you, not about them, about you? Notice how you've responded to uncertainty. Notice whether you've stayed grounded or whether fear has started making decisions for you. Notice whether you've maintained your sense of self-worth even while waiting for someone else's truth to surface. This is where real growth happens, Scorpio. Not in discovering someone else's secret, but in discovering how steady you can remain while the unknown stretches out in front of you. Many spiritual traditions suggest that every difficult waiting period is also a mirror. It shows you exactly how much you've healed and exactly where you still have work left to do. If you've stayed calm through this uncertainty, that's proof of real growth. And if you've struggled, that's not failure either. That's simply information, gently showing you where to focus your healing next. Let's bring this back to intuition one more time because it deserves deeper honor than most people give it. Your intuition has likely been right about people before, even when you doubted it in the moment. Think back. How many times have you sensed something was wrong long before anyone confirmed it? How many times did your gut warn you quietly before your mind caught up? This pattern isn't coincidence, it's evidence. Evidence that your inner wisdom, the same wisdom guiding you through this current situation, has consistently proven trustworthy over time. So when you feel deep down that someone is about to reveal something significant, honor that feeling. Not with anxiety, not with obsessive analysis, just with quiet confidence. You don't need to control when the truth arrives. You simply need to trust that you'll recognize it clearly when it does. That trust in yourself is one of the most powerful spiritual tools you can develop. Not the ability to predict the future, the ability to trust your own perception of the present. There's another layer to this worth exploring, something many people never stop to consider. Energy, whether or not you believe in it as a literal force, is real in the sense that people feel it constantly, even when they can't explain why. You've walked into rooms before and immediately sensed something was off long before anyone said a word. You've spoken to someone on the phone and known almost instantly that something had shifted in how they felt about you. Many spiritual traditions describe this as reading someone's energy. Others might describe it as picking up on nonverbal cues so subtle that your conscious mind hasn't caught up yet. Either way, the experience feels the same. You sense it before you can explain it. This is part of why the coming days may feel unusually charged for you, Scorpio. If someone around you is preparing to reveal something they've kept hidden, their energy has likely already begun shifting, even if their words haven't caught up yet. You may notice them becoming more affectionate out of nowhere, as if compensating for something unspoken. Or you may notice them growing quieter, pulling away before they say something they're afraid you're not ready to hear. Neither reaction confirms exactly what's coming, but both are signs that something beneath the surface has already begun to move. Pay attention, not with anxiety, but with the same quiet awareness you'd bring to watching weather change before a storm. You don't need to control it, you simply need to notice it, and let that noticing prepare you emotionally for whatever comes next. As we move toward the end of this message, I want you to sit with one final thought. Truth has a way of arriving exactly when someone is finally ready to face it, not a moment before and rarely a moment later than necessary. You may not know exactly what's coming. You may not know exactly who it involves or what shape it will take when it finally surfaces. But you already carry everything you need to meet it with grace. Your patience has never been weakness. Your silence has never been avoidance. Your intuition has never been paranoia. These are the tools you've been sharpening your entire life, often without realizing it, for a moment exactly like this one. So today and in the days that follow, stay calm. Protect your peace. Observe more than you react. Trust your judgment even when it feels uncertain. Move forward, not with fear, but with quiet confidence in who you are and what you've already survived. Because Scorpio, the truth is coming. It always does, eventually. And when it arrives, you won't need to chase it, force it, or fear it. You'll simply need to be exactly who you already are. Patient, perceptive, and unwilling to abandon yourself while you wait for someone else to find their courage. Sometimes your greatest strength isn't proving people wrong. It's allowing the truth to reveal itself while you remain completely silent. If this message spoke to something you've been feeling lately, take a moment to like this video. It genuinely helps this message reach more people who need to hear it right now. Subscribe if you'd like guidance like this to find you again. And before you go, I'd love to know, has your intuition ever been right about someone even when you had no proof yet? Comment below with the words, "I trust my intuition," and let me know. Until next time, Scorpio, stay grounded, stay aware, and trust the quiet wisdom that has never once led you astray.